icy day and I'm home from work. Been piddling. That's the name of the game within my life, is I just piddle around the house. But I've been piddling. I did take a shower, got my hair up, started putting on my makeup. It's not going to go full-fledged because I need to get some stuff started and thought I'd bring you along. So, I'm Kathy. This is Kathy's Country Life. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I am just a hobby YouTuber. And I just let y'all know some stuff that I'm doing. So, what do you do when it is 25 degrees outside in Alabama? You want warm comfort food. So, beef stew's on the menu tonight. And with the beef stew, I'm going to make some French bread. Love to have a crusty French bread that you dip into the beef stew. Oh, so good, so good. So I'm going to get started on my bread. If you have been with me for a while, you've seen me. My favorite way to do bread dough is in my bread machine because I do just the dough cycle where it mixes it, it kneads it, it does its first rise. You just set it and you don't have to think about it. And that's my favorite way of doing it. You've seen me do breads with a bread hook in my mixer. You've seen me knead bread by hand. So I can do it all. My favorite part is to do it in my bread machine, and that's what we're going to do because I just want to set it, forget it, go dry my hair, and come back to it when it's done. And we're going to start on the beef stew. So I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to show you how I'm going to mix this up. I've got a half a cup of warm water that I'm just putting into my bread machine vessel. And I have been asked several times why I don't just use my bread maker to bake the bread also. One, I don't like the little blender thing. It makes a hole in it, and I know you can't take that off, but it still makes a hole in it because it protrudes up, and I don't like this shape for a bread. So that's the reason. I found this recipe online. It's at I don't know what the website is, but I'll link it down below. And it piqued my interest because instead of using sugar, you're using maple syrup. So it calls for, let me make sure I got my right. Yeah, it calls for 1.5 teaspoons of maple syrup, and it calls for 1 teaspoon of yeast. I use Active Dry. I'm going to go ahead and float that on top and then use this. Oops, that's probably, well, that's closer to 2 teaspoons instead of 1. And then going to give it a little mixeroonie, and then we wait. You want to make sure that your yeast is good. It hadn't died on you. I keep mine in the refrigerator. And sometimes when I get down to the nitty-gritty of it, it's been in there too long, I guess, and something happens and it don't activate. So I really do this step when I'm starting to get low on it. I've got more in my freezer, and when I run out of this or it dies, I'll get the yeast out of the freezer, fill this up, and put it in my refrigerator. That seems to work well for me. So we're going to let this sit for about 5-10 minutes and make sure that it activates and gets foamy, and we'll be back. And I will say this. Most bread machine recommendations, bread machine recipes call for instant yeast. That's why if you're using instant yeast, plop it on in, put your flour in, start the process. But because I use Active Dry yeast, I do this step first to get the yeast activated and then go ahead. So using instant yeast will allow you to skip this process of letting this yeast bloom or activate. So while we're waiting on this to do its thing, I want to share with you, I have a cousin who, where I'm about cooking, she's about decorating. She has always just had a golden touch on decorating, and it's not expensive decorating. She decorates on a budget, but it looks high dollar. So I want you to go and visit her. She doesn't have a YouTube channel, but she does have an online blog. It's called athomewithdebbie.com. I'll link this down below in my description. And she also has a Facebook page, same name, I believe, yes. But I will link those two down below. She's my cousin. She also posts some recipes, and I'm going to try some of them and film those for you off of her. I know she did one on salmon patties the other day. Who don't love a good salmon patty? But anyway, she posts about her life, everyday things. She's a Christian woman, and I really think that the majority of y'all would enjoy what she does. So please visit her website, athomewithdebbie.com. She also has a Facebook page, and like I said, I will have those linked down below. If you see a recipe that she makes, she's not big on cooking and recipes, but she does post some recipes. If you see one on there that you want me to make for you here on YouTube, let me know down in the comments, and we'll do that. Okay, I was going to go dry my hair before this, but my hair falls out, and especially when it's fresh blow dried, it would just, I'd get hair and stuff. So I'm waiting to dry, and then I can pull it back. Okay, so our yeast has activated. Woo! Okay, so now I'm going to add, I've got 3 cups of flour. The recipe calls for 3 cups of flour. And I'm going to do probably like 2.5 cups, just to make sure. Calls for 2 teaspoons of melted butter and a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to put it in my bread machine. And this is a Hamilton Beach one that I've had for several years. Pull it over some. Sorry. And it goes in. Just like that. Put the lid down. My dough cycle is number 8. So I will hit the cycle button until it hits number 8. And then I will hit the start button. And first of all, it will start mixing it. Mix it in really good, and then it will knead it, and then it will rest and let it rise in a warm place. It kind of gets warm. So I'm going to watch this as it mixes up and see if I need, more flour or more water. Right now it's looking a little dry, but we'll check back in a few minutes. One reason why it's looking a little dry is I just reread the recipe, and it calls for 1 cup of lukewarm water. I did a 1/2 cup, so I'm going to add another 1/2 cup of warm water to it. As it's doing this mixing, I'm going to go in with a spatula and scrape down the sides so that flour gets incorporated. I may need to add some more liquid. Let that go. See what we got in another couple minutes. Okay, sides are clear. Oh, feels good. I think it's perfect. So this has got 1 hour and 22 minutes. It's going to knead it, mix it, knead it, and then let it rise its initial rise for 1 hour. I swear, when I get in the kitchen, it turns into something else, I don't know what dog he's barking at. But anyway, I was getting some ingredients together for the beef stew, and I'm down to my last 2 quarts of beef stock. So, what's a girl to do? She's got the stuff to make beef stock. Let's get that going too. So, I have some beef bones, some meat, some fat that I got out of the freezer that I had froze. I don't know when, but So we're gonna, while we're prepping our veggies for the beef stew, I'm gonna add this to the pot for add it to the scraps for my beef stock. So I've already peeled the onions. I washed my onion skins really good. I've got carrots. I've just washed those really good. So the onions and the carrot peels are going to go into the roaster. And then I'm just going to peel these directly into the roaster. I've done stocks before here on this channel, so I'm not going to just show you. I'm going to let it cook for a couple of days in the roaster and then pressure can it up. But this is the process that I'm doing. Right now, I think I've got some stuff in the freezer too that I can throw in here. And this is frozen solid, so it'll take a while for it to defrost while cooking. And because you want all that collagen out of the bone, so you just want to cook it to death until the bones are soft and the collagen is released. And I'll show you the difference. This batch of beef broth was cooked longer, and I had more veggie scraps in with it. This one I didn't have many veggie scraps, and it wasn't cooked as long. So you can tell the difference color. Both very tasty. I prefer a darker one just because it looks richer, but they're both delicious, and these are the last two cans that I have. These were processed, of course, at 2 different times. But I just thought, well, I might as well go ahead and do this because I have the stuff for it, and I don't want to cook something else that calls for beef broth and I don't have any. I hate wanting to cook something and have to go to the store to pick up something. I try to keep stocked with most everything I need. The only thing that we do run out of is like milk. I used the last of the milk this morning in my coffee, my iced coffee, and I need to text Chris and tell him why he's out and about to run to the store and get a couple gallons of milk. He drinks milk like a baby calf. We'll go through 2 gallons a week. Now that's him drinking a gallon, and me maybe for some cooking and some iced coffees, maybe a half a gallon, and then he'll drink the other half a gallon too. I'm telling you, that boy drinks milk. I don't drink milk. And I wasn't raised drinking milk. I mean, my parents loved milk. They drank it, but I wasn't really raised drinking, and I don't like it. I cannot sit down at a meal and drink a glass of milk. I just don't now. But I like milk in things. I can drink buttermilk more so than I can, plain milk. What do you call it? What's the country folks call plain milk? Anyway, I'm just chopping off some of these ends to put in here too. Those look bad, so I'm not going to put those in. But I can drink chocolate milk. I just can't. And every once in a while, if there is, if I got something really rich and chocolatey, I'll get me like a coffee cup of milk and drink with that. It don't taste so bad with something really sweet and chocolatey. So, anyway, I'm just prepping the vegetables that's going to go into the beef stew. My beef stew meat wasn't all the way defrosted, so I stuck it in the microwave to defrost for a couple of minutes, and we're going to brown that up real good. The difference in this recipe that I'm using, I usually make my beef stew on the stovetop, but this one calls to do it in the oven. I know I look terrible, I apologize. Cook it in the oven, so I'm going to try that method and see how we like that. So I'll be back. Okay, y'all ready to rumble? We're going to brown up our stew meat. I actually had stew meat in the freezer. Probably 80% of the time when I make beef stew, I use a chuck roast and just cut it up into cubes. But I did have some stew meat. I'm getting this hot. We're going to do about a tablespoon of oil. Uh-oh, something's on that eye burning, and I just cleaned it off this morning. Okay, so we're going to start adding I've got 3 pounds. Let's just start out with that. I've got 3 pounds of stew meat, and I'm just going to add I'm not going to overcrowd it because I want a good browning, caramelization on it. Some of it's still kind of stuck. That's all I'm going to put in there for now. Just going to sprinkle on just a little bit of salt, because we will season the stew as it goes. And we're just going to let these get brown, good and brown on both sides. I'll take these out, put them in a plate, and I'm going to work in batches to get these done. I just got a whiff of this candle. I got it sitting on my stove. I probably need to move it so grease don't splatter on it. But it's Bath & Body Works Mango Mai Tai. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. I have not smelled this scent before. My daughter-in-law had it in a little goodie bag for her baby shower hostesses. And oh gosh, it smells so good. Let me move it out of the way. Mango Mai Tai. Okay, just 3 batches. This is the 3rd batch. Look at all that goodness on the bottom. Woo-wee. I've turned the eye on to cool it down some so it don't just burn all this to pieces. Okay, let me get a wooden spoon. Let me get a wooden spoon out of my dishwasher. Okay, what I have got is 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. We're going to deglaze that, and we're going to go ahead and add in our carrots and onions, rustically chopped, and we're just going to get all that mixed in and get all that falling off the bottom. Flavor. I've got my oven preheated to 325. Ooh, that vinegar just popped up and burned my eye. I mean the fumes, not the actual vinegar. Alright, I'm going to add the meat in with all the juices. I probably should have, these are some big old pieces, but Chris will like it like that. This This is a little over 3 pounds. The onions called for 2 medium chopped. All I have is big old honking onions, so I did 1.5 large onions. And what did I have? 4 or 5 sticks of carrots that I did. Okay. Now I need flour. Let me get flour. This is to thicken, 1/4 of a cup. This is 1/3 of a cup, so I'm not using the whole shebang. And I want to get all this coated in that flour. Ooh, that's hot. Okay, now then, the recipe that I'm using calls for 2 cups of broth, 2 cups of wine, and 2 cups of water. I'm not using wine. We don't drink, so I don't ever have wine to cook with. I have bought wine before for a specific recipe, but that's not anything that we keep on hand in the house. So, next I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of dry thyme. This is actually thyme that I grew last summer, and then it got crowded out by I think some pumpkin plants and didn't do no good, so I didn't get a whole lot. And then we're going to add some bay leaves. My bay leaves are all crunched and little, so I'll get some whole ones. I'll do about 2, you know, of the bigger ones. I'm going to get that little one out because it's going to be hard to fish out. And salt it. Pepper it. Stir it. Smells good. I'm going to add just a little bit more flour. I think this is making more than what I realized with the recipe. Still not, I mean, it was between a 1/4 and a 1/3 cup. I just want to make sure that this thickens up good. I love a good, thick, hearty beef stew. And this is just like a 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. I think that's a flavor enhancer, not to make it sweet. Okay. I had 2 quarts of my chicken broth, so that's 8 cups. This is 8 cups, so see those fat chunks that rise to the top? That's flavor, honey. That's flavor. I'm going to add some garlic powder. I don't have any cloves. And what do we love? Mushrooms. These are some mushrooms that I had freeze dried. And that'll soak up some of that juice when it rehydrates. We love mushrooms. Of course, any of this stuff, if you don't like, you don't have to add it. The recipe didn't call for mushrooms. I just like mushrooms. And I think they're delicious in stews. Okay, I am going to add some potatoes and some peas, but just not right now because the potatoes are freeze dried and they don't have to cook as long. And the peas, you know, they just have to just thaw in the hot liquid. Turn the eye off. And put the lid on. And it's going to go in the oven for, let me check my recipe. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun. 2 hours, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put this in a 325 oven for 2 hours. And I'll see you back when the bread is ready to do something with it. That was heavy. I forgot tomato paste. Calls for 2 tablespoons, I think. I might be wrong, but that's a big hopping tablespoon. Get that mixed in. All these onions that want to stick to the side like they're trying to get out of the pool. Okay, now it's going in the oven for 2 hours. It's bread time. Just got it out. It feels wonderful. Put some flour down on my board. Bring it down so you can see. Come on. Get the paddle out of the dough. Alright, we're going to knead it a little bit. Roll this out to a rectangle, and if you've ever seen me before try to roll out a rectangle, I'm not very good at it. I'm going to put a clean towel over it. I'm going to spray the top of it with just a little bit of oil to keep it from drying out, because I'm going to go over there and stick it by the fireplace to let it come to its second rise. And then we'll be back. This will go probably about 30-45 minutes. Hey, we're gonna check on the beef stew. Woo. Shoo-wee. It has not been 2 hours, but I just want to check on things a little bit. See how we're faring. Okay, it's looking good. The meat's not quite there on tenderness, and it is pretty loosey-goosey. I may end up having to thicken it up more using some cornstarch or something, but it is not done. I made a mistake by putting the carrots in right now because they're probably going to just turn to mush. I should have put those in like about now, an hour and 5 minutes later. Okay, back in the oven. Okay, our bread has risen. It's a little skinny on this end. So I've got some melted butter. And to this is what we're going to brush the tops with. I'm just going to put a pinch of garlic powder. And some crushed rosemary, maybe a half a teaspoon. And then we'll put just a pinch of salt. Yum, yum. I'm going to do some slits. I've got my oven preheating to 400. This one's going to be lopsided because it gets so skinny down here. Now we're going to brush the rosemary garlic butter. I just thought the rosemary and garlic on the bread would go good with the beef stew. Now I don't know why. I just did. Trying to get some of these rosemary. Rosemary, butter, garlic. Okay, I have drenched this. Alright, well my oven preheats, it's at 300. It won't take me just another minute. I'll stick these in. They're probably going to cook about 20 minutes. And then when I come back, we'll take them out. And we may have to eat one of them as an appetizer. Just kidding. I hadn't ate today. I'm starving. Can I vent? I decided, okay, so it's cold here. Right now it's 24 degrees and it's going down into the single digits tonight. Now, we have 3 dogs and a cat. 2 of the dogs and the cat are outside animals. My poodle is an inside. I mean, of course he goes out and plays and all that, but he's primarily an inside dog. And we have a bully mix that's name is Maybelline. She's old, she's fat, but when it gets cold, I mean, if it gets below 40 degrees at night, even sometimes even higher than that, she comes in. She's a good dog. She's old. She comes in. She gets over there. We have a bed in front of the fireplace. She lays there. And it's just perfect. Then we got Pumpkin, who is our newer dog, who is as crazy as a jackrabbit, full of energy, tears up everything outside. And then our cat, used to be an inside cat. Her name's Kitty. His name is Kitty. Used to be an inside cat. And now, let me put the bread in. Hold on. Oh, I left a cast iron skillet in. Hang on. I'm so bad about putting this big old cast iron in the oven and then leaving it in there when I heat the oven up. Okay, I'm back. I don't want to burn this board. I do have a story. Hang on. Okay, so the cat used to be an indoor cat until the son of a gun started peeing on stuff. Wouldn't use his, he would use his litter box. But if we had like a stack of clothes in the laundry room, that was going into the wash or whatever, like we had wash go in and I make like individual stacks, he would go back there and pee on them. Well, I ain't having that. Ugh. So he got booted outside probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. This is really our first cold spell since he's been out. And he's been whining at the door to come in. Well, I don't even have a litter box anymore for him. And I told Chris this afternoon, I said, okay, so Pumpkin, our crazy dog. I'm jumping all over the place. Pumpkin, our crazy dog. It's got a dog house out here. She stays in one of my chairs out here. Has ruined the cushions on it. And I'm like, fine, it's your chair now. Ruin the cushions. I'll buy new ones next year, well, in the summer. And so she lays there. She's got a dog house. She goes in occasionally. Well, yesterday, when I come home from work, we have an electric blanket that we don't use. It's just we can't sleep hot. So it was in my linen closet, and so I get the electric blanket out. I put it up into the dog house. I turn the dog house up towards the house so the wind couldn't get in. I get a heating pad, and I've got like a little igloo, soft-sided igloo house for the cat. It's got an old pillow in it, and he'll get in that. And so I got the heating pad, put it in there, and put an old little blanket over it. And I thought, okay, they'll be set. This will be warm for them. They'll be okay. Pumpkin, the dog, would not go in that house. Would not go in that house. The cat never did go in her house. When I got up this morning at 5 o'clock, I let Cash, my inside dog, out to use the bathroom. Pumpkin is on this chair, shivering to death. Could not find the cat. Called cat. Okay, long story, I know. But anyway, Chris, we're going to have to bring Pumpkin and the kitty in tonight. It's just going to be in the single digits, and they're not smart enough to get into their shelter with heat. So we've got to make arrangements. So I don't have a litter box anymore. That's where I was getting. I don't have a litter box anymore. So I found an Amazon box, and Chris says, well, I'll go. We've got piles of sand, and he says, I'll go get some sand. I'll get some sand to put in it, and that can be a temporary litter box. Okay. Well, I'll put the cat with her litter box and some food and water in we have an upstairs full bathroom that don't ever get used unless we have guests. I'll put her up there because there's a shower curtain, a rug, and it's got stuff in it. I don't want Pumpkin up there because she'll tear the shower curtain off the rings. And then we'll put Pumpkin, we have a half bath down here that doesn't have anything. It's got a toilet, it's got a vanity. I'll probably put up the toilet paper But there's really nothing in there for her to destroy unless she starts eating the baseboards or something. And I thought, well, I'll just put a dog bed in there, and she can stay in there tonight. So we got it figured out. He was leaving. He was going to go get the cows some food, feed, and I said, hey, don't forget the Amazon box. It's sitting on the island, and put some sand in it. It's still here. Yeah. He was standing right here beside it. Hey, get that Amazon on the island. Put some sand in it for the cat tonight. Okay, yeah. It's still here. He didn't get it. So when it gets even colder, when he gets back, he's going to have to go get sand. Anyway, scatterbrained husband. Do y'all have one? I got one. And I'm scatterbrained too. Okay, so the bread's in the oven. Baking up. I think that's going to be so good. And I'm done with my storytelling, so I'll be back when the bread's ready. Okay, I just took this out. I think it has like 5 minutes more for it to be the 2-hour mark. But it's still kind of soupy. So I have made a slurry of some beef broth, some, cornstarch, and a little bit of this, a teaspoon of the Better Than Bouillon beef. I'm going to put that in there to see if we can get it a little bit thicker. I can already tell it's thickening up. Alright, I'm going to put it back in for probably about another 10 minutes, and then we'll pull it out and we'll add our potatoes. Okay. I'm using some potato chunks that I had freeze dried a while back, but of course you just use fresh ones that you've cubed up. And these are rehydrate and cook in the broth here. It's gotten nice and thick and rich looking. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to put this back in the oven, let the potatoes cook, and I'll pull it out and we'll put the English peas in. It's going to be good, y'all. And I think our bread is just about done. Looky, 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 here comes Cookie. Okay. So I'm going to brush some more of this butter over it. I wish you could smell this. It smells delicious. It smells delicious. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm just going to let it hang out on this. I'm going to set it over here on the stove. And oh, that's going to be so good. Do we need to make a dessert? No, we don't. Okay, let it go for about 10 more minutes. These are kind of icy, but they'll be hot. Alright, I'm going to put it back in the oven for about 10 minutes. Just because the potatoes aren't quite done. And then we'll be good to go. Let me do I'm going to get some of this broth out. Just to do a taste test when it cools off. See if we need some seasoning. Oh, me. That is heavy. That is heavy. It's thick and rich looking. That's good. Might need a little bit of salt, but I think that's good. What that little piece was, it looks like a little piece of meat. It was kind of hard. I'm going to tear off the end of this and taste it. I'm about to starve to death. Or I should have tore this off and dunked it down in the stew and the gravy. It's chewy like a French bread. Oh, so good. So good. Voila, the finished product. I did a taste test. Added just a little bit of salt. And oop, we're fogging up. A little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic. That was all it needed. But it's thick and it's rich and can't wait to get me a bowl of it. Got my plate made with my beef stew, me a hunk of bread. I'm gonna go sit down and enjoy this meal on this cold, cold, cold day. So thanks for being here again with me. If you're a returning viewer, again with me. So I will see you guys next time. Don't forget, hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. And leave me a comment. I love reading comments. And I'll see you next time. Bye.